Hi, welcome back to the GM Academy. Of course, I'm your instructor, Jim McClure, and we are starting our 101 class on a new topic, which is world building. Now, world building is going to be quite a large topic, and it is the concept of you as a GM designing your own place to hold your campaign in. We're not designing our own system of mechanics and rules. We are designing the environment, the setting, the where all the action takes place. And that's what we're going to focus on. There really is a lot to it. There's a lot of steps, and these first couple steps is we're going to look at a basic foundation of knowledge that's needed before we get into the nuts and bolts of really what we're going to talk about here in world building. So this first class, our 101, is going to be, of course, so you want to build your own world, and that's why you're here watching these. There's really a lot to take in. It is a large undertaking. It's not something that should be approached lightly. It is something that takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy, it takes revision. There's really a lot to world building. So the first thing I really want you to do, if you're going to get into this, is understand why you are building your own world, why you want to build your own world. It is vitally important to understand the why before you move anywhere further in. Because the reality is, in the 21st century, where we live, there's already a published setting for every single world you could ever want out there. They already exist. For the most part. There's a couple you can find that aren't. But for the majority of what you're going to be looking at, there is some world that already exists to run it. So why are you making it? And I don't say this at all to discourage anyone. I've done a fair amount of world building myself. But you need to go into understanding what is the ultimate purpose? What is your objective? Are you doing this for your own fun and for your own entertainment? That's a completely legitimate reason, but understand that you are building your world because you want to enjoy it yourself, because you created it. Are you building it because the other worlds that exist don't capture that specific niche that you want? Then understand that's why you are building to fill that niche. Are you building because genuinely there is not a setting that matches what you want? Perhaps you want a WWE style wrestling one. Well, guess what? That world does actually already exist. But whatever the case may be, there could be a very specific, unique setting that you've never dealt with before, and maybe that's why you're building it. Understand from the get-go why you are building it, because that's going to let you know when you've done your job correctly. Don't base it on anything else but your basic understanding of why you're building the world. I'm going to build it for my own entertainment and fun. Well, then you build it. Did you have fun building it? Wonderful. You've achieved your objective. I'll tell you one thing your world building should not be. Do not build a world because you want others to appreciate the work that you've done. You will always be disappointed. And I want to give that warning right from the get-go, because a lot of people approach it that way or get disheartened when it doesn't happen. No one's going to appreciate as much work as you put into it as you. So understand why you are building your own world. And then the other thing to look at from the beginning is consistency. Consistency is key in world building. Everything within the world has to be consistent to itself. Otherwise, you start breaking people from the fantasy. You start breaking people from the immersion that they are having within your world. And just to give you an example, let's say you have a situation set up where in your world, there are these special gems that they use for currency. Okay, and people trade them, and they're very rare and very valuable, and it's a form of currency, I should say. And you think, okay, that's great, that's a cool idea, I set that up for my world. And then let's set up another world or another location that is, we'll just put it like in contrast, that the gems are so common that there is nothing ever, they literally burn them for fuel and for energy, okay? And that'll show how trivial, it is, and a comparison will make it good. And it's wonderful and everything works and it fits. But then at some point later on, you establish this route of trade between them. Three completely different situations that you set up that now have broken the internal consistency, because the gems would not be rare in our Kingdom 1 if Kingdom 2 is burning them for fuel and there's a trade route between them. They would logically get there. And that's just to give you sort of a clear example. Anytime you're adding a level of complexity to your world building, check to make sure it's still consistent with everything else that you've established. Check to make sure that there's not conflicts, because certainly the people playing in your world will find conflicts. So those are the two big concepts I wanted to get out, of course, right here from the beginning. Again, our 1.0 series on world building is really going to be focused on the basics and establishing a foundation of knowledge and a foundation of understanding before we really get into the specifics of putting on. This has been our 101 class, and class dismissed. Thank you for watching the GM Academy. You can click the video to see all of our classes on world building, and you can click subscribe to get all the latest information and videos from the GM Academy. If you enjoy what you saw here, please hit the like button. It really does help us to continue to put out good quality information to the community. Thank you again for watching and for your support.